It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin a Monday. Gary, how are you?
Doing good, I guess.
Yeah.
Why not? Good weekend.
Yeah.
Unexpected long weekend because of the ice and snow that we had here. We got zapped all over the place, and I saw you responded to some people on the podcast because we didn't have a podcast for Friday, and I saw somebody write. They said we weren't there. What? You guys having problems with contract negotiations? No, that's not.
No.
I burst out. That's not our style. We don't.
Yeah, we don't do it.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
We, number one, we never talk about that ever.
Right.
And we don't threaten. We've had a very, very good relationship with our management.
I prefer not to do that out in the open. There's a reason why, you do that between a set of individuals and everybody else stays out of it. My $5 an hour is my $5 an hour.
Well, I mean, I think I do put both you and me in a very compromising position by saying, publicly, hey, I do this for free.
I know we keep saying that. Our agent's like, hey, can you shut up and not say that?
And so, of course, that means in any contract negotiations, management will say, why don't you guys pay us $50,000 a year and we'll allow you to be on the microphones?
And then we would still think about it. We go, oh, you know what? That's actually that's a bargain. I wonder if they have a Groupon. Yeah, that's a bargain. Yeah.
No, yeah. Everything is fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no.
I get such a big kick. We really do have the most loyal listeners. We really do. They really get concerned if we're on.
Great. They are great. It's always, even vacation these days is becoming inconvenient. It's like Mother Nature.
I know.
Like, really? Just enough snow to make it, and ice to make it dangerous. But in Texas.
Yeah, because no plows, no salt.
Yeah,
it's not the same thing.
Yeah,
They
throw salt down, but kind of like that chef that went viral. It's about that much. You know what I mean? We don't buy a lot.
The salt that we throw down does not at all affect the ground and its blood pressure.
Yeah, it does not. No, it does not. Or the taste of the ground. It does. I'll tell you right now, it does not improve the taste of the ground whatsoever.
Throw some pepper on it.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as I woke up, I said, and this is the challenge every day, where do we start?
Yeah.
And I started thinking with the situation in California, just my first remark, that as a politician, you have to be able to sell to your constituents, and this is the people that vote for you or the people that don't vote for you, that you are competent.
Yeah.
You've got to first sell it with your body language and your mannerisms.
Yeah.
There has to be, and we've talked about this before, I have no problem with symbolism. What I have problem is, to quote the late Rush Limbaugh, the great Rush Limbaugh, symbolism without substance.
Yes, right. If you're using something that is real, but you need to make that point, you need to promote that point, and there's that symbolism involved, that's fine if there's something to back it up. If there's something actually there.
Right. And when you see, I think one of the best that we have seen in modern politics when it comes to disaster preparation, and then after the disaster happens, the follow-up along with press conferences that communicate that message effectively, has to be DeSantis. He's one of the best.
Yeah.
He just is.
Yeah.
When you see him, it's like, okay, this guy's in charge. And that's what you need to do as a good politician, has a substance, but also the symbolism behind it. I mean, both Newsom and Bass are just,
it just got worse over the weekend.
It is like, just shut up.
I thought when the woman was there talking to him about her daughter's school and everything else and all of this, and he's saying, well, I can't get a signal. I'm trying to call the White House right now. And she said, can you show me? Can you show me? In other words, can you prove to me you're actually trying to call the White House? I love that, because this is what it gets down to, is that I know that one person, she's not the example of everybody, but it seems, at least anecdotally, we are seeing that more and more in our society. We're not going to take this. Even the liberals were going after Newsom.
Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, it's, it gets very real. And the thing is that you'll learn about, things as people learn about whether or not their house was standing or not. It really, the reality of our lives are in danger because of this big lie they're telling on climate change and the mismanagement of the forestation and the brush and the water. The water thing was over the top bad. This is something, I don't know if this is, how much damage this does to Gavin Newsom, but it was damage.
Well, it's interesting, and we'll get into it later on in the show. You see Michael Schellenberger go through the whole thing about that 117 million gallon reservoir, and precisely, how it works, and the fact that what they were telling you, we'll go through it, was not accurate.
Right.
And he goes point by point by point by point.
Right.
What you have here is liberals that can get away with excuses all the time because the liberal media has allowed them to do it year in and year out. Because if you look at it, here, I'm going to do this umbrella. This is an umbrella comment, but I think it's quite accurate. The argument that the left is making is that climate change is so bad that nothing could have stopped this.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. Sorry. This is what we're dealing with. Then the other arguments are, for example, a Michael Schellenberger, who believes in climate change, but believes, like Bjorn Lundberg, that everything you're doing is the wrong thing.
Right.
That, okay, even if it is climate change, there are things you could have done. You haven't prepared long-term or short-term for this. You have to sit there and say, okay, if this is happening, what do we do? You just don't say it's climate change. Sorry, your house is burned. Give us more money.
Yeah.
And so you've got that side, plus you have then the other side, Stossel doing a great thing, on it. We also brought you the researcher from the people that do check the volcanoes,
USGS.
Yes, USGS, who said, no, this isn't climate change. Good God, this wildfires have been happening for 20 million years. And John Stossel talking about, and this is something that you and I have talked about for the longest time, that what people forget is that we fight every fire.
Yeah.
A lot more forest land used to burn before humans got involved in fire prevention and firefighting. Whole states would burn. Well, that means it would start over again. That underbrush would be gone.
Right.
And as I know where I live, there's woods, there's fields, there's, they do control burns around the lake that I live on, which is only 22 miles from downtown Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
They're always doing the controlled burns all the time. Why? Because that forest isn't going to burn every 50 years.
Right.
And Stossel did a great thing where they actually went in and looked at it, look at this underbrush that actually exists here. Now, can you prevent every fire? Because that was the point they're trying to make. Well, you can't prevent all wildfires from happening. Well, nobody is saying that.
You can be better equipped to handle them.
Exactly.
And you can also limit the damage by thinning the forest. Deforestation has to be a big part of it. But building out a plan that gives you the best leverage, that if you're going to be in an area that is prone to high winds, you're not going to stop the Santa Ana winds. If you're going to be in an area that's arid, well, you manage your water better, and you also manage the forestation better. That's what you have here. And it's a very simple equation. It's not that hard. There aren't that many moving parts.
But that's what I got, and I think that umbrella observation is quite accurate, that what you're getting from the left is climate change is so bad there's nothing you can do about it, and this is going to continue to happen until we really take climate change seriously and you give tons more money to us.
Right.
Who brought up the point over the weekend that you have, so many of these, a lot of these homes are rich people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Rich people may leave.
Oh yeah, they can go.
More rich people
they
leave.
Can go elsewhere. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
But that's what I got out of it, and I'm just like, do they realize what they're saying? What they're saying is there's nothing we can do as politicians. Well, we also know there's nothing you can do about hurricanes. Yet It seems like when a hurricane hits Florida, DeSantis is out there, and you sit there and you say, well, we obviously know, hurricanes. We cannot prevent them, but what we can do is respond. We can be prepared beforehand, and we can be prepared afterwards.
You go into evacuation mode. You go into, you also go into staging mode in terms of what supplies will be needed after the hurricane. All of these things are very familiar to anybody that is qualified to run a state. In the case of Florida, they know all about hurricanes. They know there are going to be more hurricanes. In California, we talked about this last week. We know there are going to be more wildfires. We know the Santa Ana winds and how they work. We know the conditions. So what do? You build out. Your strategy from day one should be to better protect the people, not only with evacuation plans, but in terms of property, how it might spread, and the water needed to battle. Again, and
the infrastructure
60,
too.
60, 80 mile an hour winds, in terms of gusts. Look, they weren't able to get out on top of the Palisades fire early on. It was still 0% contained. Now they've gotten some of that contained.
I saw 11% the last I saw.
And so, and the wind's still a problem. Well, but the most precious item you're looking to save, of course, is a life. But when you have all these things and you mismanage the water, because it really isn't enough. Gavin Newsom trying to, walk back what he said, the reservoirs are full and blah, 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 blah. Nope.
Well, see, he was asked that direct question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And said, well, that's not a state one. And that's the only thing that Trump, you don't know Trump was hitting just the state.
Right.
He was hitting you. He was hitting everything.
Right. It's the entire system that's mismanaged.
That's it, though. We can't change. There's nothing we can do about climate change at all. So deal with it. And Trump is bad because he won't unite us all.
Right.
Because Trump won't say, oh, they're the height of competency there. And those are problem solvers there in California. Because he won't say that. Well, no, as we said last week, that's because he stands with the victims.
Exactly. And that contradiction. There's nothing we can't control climate change. Oh, if we tax you more, we're going to try to control climate change.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about, this is all been about a money grab and government control over people.
The other thing, too, is the number of interviews that Gavin Newsom's doing where he's smiling and he's moving back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the body language is just horrendous. There really doesn't seem to be a sense of seriousness.
Yeah. No, there really doesn't.
And I'm like, am I the only one seeing this? And I know I'm not.
No,
but I'm like, that's why I start out saying they can't even do the symbolism right that we care anymore.
Right. Yeah, it's it really is. It was very telling. We've known, but I think a lot more people in California have learned how bad Governor Newsom is as a governor. There was zero leadership from him. Zero leadership from the mayor's office in L.A. Zero. None.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Starting and charging system-related issues are one of the most common causes of winter breakdowns. So when your batteries talk, it's important you listen. Knowing the warning signs that could indicate your electrical system needs attention can help you avoid getting stuck out in the cold this winter. Have your electrical system checked by a certified technician if your vehicle begins to shut down electrical loads like radios and cab lights while in operation. This is a surefire sign that you're experiencing low battery voltage, and continuing to run on these conditions can lead to additional electrical systems shutting down.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up here on the show, we've got so much to talk about. The politics of the wildfire, which we will get to. Nearly 100,000 signed petition calling for the L.A. mayor's resignation. So we'll get to that. We'll hear from Michael Schellenberger what he said about the actual water, looking at the actual infrastructure there in that one reservoir point by point. Mm-hmm. Pete Hegseth, is his nomination having problems? We'll get to that right now. I was reading John Fund in National Review saying he may not have the votes right now, and he may not get the votes.
Right.
So we'll get to that. And days after scrapping fact checkers, Facebook Meta axes their DEI programs.
Yeah.
Which I have a question about Zuckerberg. Because when he said that we're not going to use the fact checkers anymore, a lot of people said, well, he's only doing it to gather favor with Trump.
Right.
Well, then he came out and said no more DEI.
Right.
My question would be, you and I saw everybody intimidated from the summer of 2020 on, to the point of what we call the blue wall of intimidation existed like it hasn't in my lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen it like that.
Right.
Corporations just falling over, buying into the lie of Black Lives Matter. And police departments are systemically racist, DEI, all, critical race theory. And now they're backing off of all of them. Was he more intimidated at that point? And does he feel free at this point? Or is it all a con game for him just to, garner favor with Trump?
I think there's a lot there to unpack, because I was thinking of the same thing. Because he's trying to gain favor on Capitol Hill and the White House, whoever's in the White House, at all times because of regulation. So what was he willing and not willing to go along with, and how does that change?
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And welcome and good morning. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So much to talk about. I want to play this audio. Let's play this audio, Eric. I say I because I'm actually pushing the button. But
right, it's coming out of your computer.
It's we, but but it's my computer, so I'm doing it.
All right, yeah.
And I want credit for it.
All right, don't hurt yourself.
I don't get enough credit. I want credit for pushing the button.
Okay, there. We'll get you a participation trophy for clicking something. We'll get you a presidential medal.
Is there a radio award?
Yeah, we'll get you the Liz Cheney presidential medal for doing nothing.
So you're actually pushing the button for that audio cut. Yeah, well, that should get some type of radio award for, technical greatness.
You're a hero.
All right, here we go. This is Michael Schellenberger talking about the whole reservoir debate in California.
Lack of water available to firefighters in Los Angeles was unavoidable, say experts in the media. Hydrants ran dry because the fires were just too big and the water system too old. Even if the large Santa Ynez Reservoir had been filled with water, it likely would not have made a difference, they say. But there are reasons to believe that it would have made a significant difference. The Santa Ynez Reservoir is just a few thousand feet away from where the massive Pacific Palisades fire started, and it's the second largest of LA's 10 major active reservoirs. Now, it is too early to say precisely how much of a difference it would have made. And there's no debate that LA's water system is antiquated. It was never created to battle so many different fires at once. The use of so many hydrants and the destruction of so many service lines to private residences resulted in a major loss of water and thus of water pressure. But the Santa Ynez Reservoir was uphill from the Pacific Palisades fire, and the firefighters doing battle with it would likely have had first access to its 117 million gallons of water before other firefighters below them, and that would likely have kept water pressure high. While the media is downplaying the significance of losing the Santa Ynez Reservoir, a senior water utility executive has come forward to tell public that 117 million gallons is a huge amount of treated water storage to have available for firefighting. Massive, maybe one of the biggest treated water storage reservoirs on the whole West Coast. The person I spoke directly with has worked as a senior professional in a California water utility for 2 decades. And, crucially, the person told me that the LADWP should never have drained the Santa Ynez Reservoir of water in the first place. Instead, it should have kept it full for emergency use and only drained it to repair a torn cover after the fire risk was far lower and after LADWP had a contractor under contract and ready to perform the necessary repairs.
There you go, Michael Schellenberger. Well, I mean, that's what's going to happen now. I mean, you can have all the excuses you want, but the fact is, Eric, this early on, nobody wants excuses.
No.
Nobody wants excuses, and that's what you get. I started, we talked a little bit about this on Thursday's show, and I know you agree with me on this because we've talked about it for so long. When we talk about, wildfire prevention, we have wildfires in Texas, and we get, and they don't all come at the same time. Now, we may be entering one now because February can get quite windy, and at times it can get dry, and we've had, wildfires lots of times between, February and April. We've seen that. I've also seen, them in the middle of the summer when it gets dry and the winds pick up and we have no rain.
August can be really bad.
Yes, August can be very, very bad. The worst I remember, and I remember that there were some wildfires, I think it was in the northern suburbs of Dallas. It was the fields that started burning, and the embers would hit the lawns, and the lawns would start, but I don't believe any houses burned because of it. It was just the lawns at that point that were burning. People were up on their roofs with water and everything else, and so I don't believe that there was that much damage. Now, you get out to some of the rural areas, you're going to have some major wildfires. It's just there's nothing out there, and you don't have the same fire prevention, and so we've had some. I remember some out near, west of Fort Worth. I know Possum Kingdom Lake area at times has gotten, hit,
Yeah.
very, very bad. But you're talking about extreme rural areas, where the wildfires are. The whole thing is to protect people. The whole thing is to protect people where they are. And what I think you saw over the weekend was the people in California, even if they believe in climate change, saying, well, wait a minute, you're saying there's nothing we can do. The climate change is just so bad, there's nothing we can do, and we're going to accept this? We don't buy that. And that's the problem that they have with this.
Well, and that's it, too, is that in those situations, the difference between leadership, right? But tell me where Gavin Newsom has ever demonstrated that he's a leader. You mentioned symbolism. It's where you began earlier, and symbolism is everything on the left. Look, his aviator glasses are cool. That's where it ends. It's, I saw picture after picture. You saw Mel Gibson on Fox News.
Yeah.
Spend less money on hair gel. That's one of those comments that sticks because
it's hair
number
gel.
one, it's hair gel. It's kind of sticky. But it's what the people of California are feeling. I don't know if he ever, I know he was on Rogan last week and was looking at the possibility or maybe likelihood that his house was going to burn. I don't know how that turned out. But as a, I don't know, long-term resident of California, the one thing about Hollywood being involved this time is that these are known people. And so when they talk, it makes the news. That's not always a bad thing. But when you look to someone to be a leader, what you had in the aftermath of, I don't know, a handful of hurricanes since Newsom or since Governor DeSantis has been in Florida, you had people unsolicitedly saying, this is why I love our governor. And this is why, I feel better having him in office. Gavin Newsom is an excuse maker. But it's not just wildfires. It was during COVID. Listen, you can't be in the room with other people. You got to wear a mask everywhere you go. Social distancing. Next thing you know, he's sitting at a table at a dinner party with multiple people very close. They're all yucking it up with no masks. That's who he is. That's the arrogance. The aviators, I thought, no, that right there, that's fitting because he reminds me a lot of Biden in that respect. The arrogance is overwhelming here. And, I think about the recall. He won the recall with no problem. He fought that recall with no problem whatsoever. But after this week, after this past weekend especially, he's politically damaged. I don't know to what extent. I can't measure that. Only time will tell. But it's time to start voting for people who are competent. But on the left, how do you change it? How do you change it when everything is built on that symbolism? They'll be the first hyphenated mayor ever.
Caffeinated?
Right.
And hyphenated.
In 2016, Ted Cruz, the first Latino to win Iowa. The liberal activist media, crickets. It's, not that Ted Cruz cares, by the way, I'm sure. Not that we care.
Wait a minute. Richard Grinnell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember Richard Grinnell?
Right.
The highest position ever.
Right.
For anybody.
Right.
For any LGBTQ person.
Right.
It's like nothing.
Nothing. But that's,
because it's all symbolism.
Well, remember, it was Halperin that went after Ted Cruz.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Do you speak Spanish? What's your favorite Cuban food? Do you listen to Cuban music? I mean, just rapid fire questions like, what the hell are you doing, Mark?
It's like,
what's wrong with you?
so I'm a Cuban American and I have to listen to Cuban music? I mean,
you have to prove you're Cuban.
Like, I wanted to come out and go, no, I listen to Megadeth.
Right. But in Arizona, if they ask somebody for their ID, that's racist. But you, Mr. Cuban, or Mr. Cuban, wrong Cuban. We'll talk about Mark Cuban later. You, Mr. Cruz, or Senator Cruz, need to prove you're a Cuban. I mean, this is who they are. This is not going to change. This is what gets you a Gavin Newsom. This is what gets you a Mayor Bass. This is what, this is how you get there. And tell me what about the fundamentals of how the Democrats work as a party that will change that. There's nothing that's going to change based on, I mean, a very long history. You and I have been doing this and covering this. It'll be 20 years this summer together. And for many more years, you've been doing it since they were saying words like, hear ye, hear ye. And that's a long time.
Yes.
With your lantern and whatnot. But
when I started, we didn't have reservoirs.
Right. You're still talking about the redcoats. But this is the problem. But it's the Democrats aren't going, and we've demonstrated that since the election. They're not going to change. Certainly in California, they're not going to change. And it's this feeling of helplessness, but it's for individuals, those who vote that way, that refuse to help themselves. And I don't know what to do about that. I don't think there's anything I can do about that. I don't know what is to be done about that. Their party isn't going to change. Their tactics politically aren't going to change. It's none of this is going to go any differently in the future. It'll be the same thing over and over. But when that lady told Newsom, show me your phone. Show me you've been trying to call the White House. Prove it to me. My gosh, what a great moment. Prove it to me. Prove it to me. Well, ma'am, he can't. The very unfortunate reality of all of this is California is not under the leadership of Gavin Newsom because he's not capable of leadership. He's not. He's weak. And I mean weak.
One of the other things is, too, as you know, one of the weaknesses of Democrats is they don't know anything. They don't know how the real world works. When you think of the leaders, do you think, when you look at somebody like, Biden or Harris or Newsom or Bass, you think these people actually know science, that they know chemistry, that they know physics? We talk about the scientific knowledge of these people, and I think a great microcosm of that is the radical transgender movement.
Yeah.
That we're going to try to convince you that a man can be a biological woman if the man says so. Well, if you throw that out, then I'm suspicious of anything else that you try to sell me. But since they don't know anything, they don't know how to get things done. And liberalism has got so bad, and we'll get more into this following the top of the hour. It's gotten so bad that we always said, well, the only thing that liberals know how to do is to tax and then spend money. Well, they know how to tax, but it's actually gotten so bad for liberalism because of the regulations.
Yeah.
They can tax, but they can't even spend the money anymore.
They can't hire contractors because the contractor needs to have the same DEI policy that they have. And so they won't move. They've got to approve every single hire of every contractor, they're frozen by their own stupidity.
And now people are looking at the Democrats. Thank you, Joe Biden, for this. But, I mean, others fit the same category, is that Democrats now are known for doing things that hurt people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're not trying to help people. They're trying to hurt you. We'll get to that and more on the way. 866-90-RED-I.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-I.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Coming up, just a ton of stuff more on the politics of the California wildfires out there. Technology. Will technology change how we fight fires in the future? Elon Musk talking about that.
Yeah.
That more coming up.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. All across the USA, Greenland, the Panama Canal Zone, Canada,
The Gulf of Texas.
the Gulf of
Governor Abbott got involved, said, look, if it's going to be anything, it's got to be the Gulf of Texas. I'm all right with that. I'm all right with that.
I liked.
Now, DeSantis may have a problem with that.
Personally, I liked, what was it, the Gulf of Buckies? That's what I saw the other day.
I love that. I'll vote for that all day.
All right, I found this interesting. Billionaire Bill Ackman, who putting out fires before they spread does not seem like a serious technological challenge in the world with SpaceX and AI. Mm-hmm. So Elon Musk and more, why don't we start a company that uses satellites, AI, and drone technology to put out fires before they spread? One can envision satellite monitoring, rapid drone investigation, a drone swarm water delivery, the number of drones sent to extinguish the fire, and the nature of the agent, water foam, dry or wet chemicals, would be a function of the nature and scale of the fire. No human lives would be at risk, and there is no risk of DEI involvement in drone selection. The only thing is, I think you're going to need firefighters on the ground.
I think you're going
to need firefighters on the ground.
Yeah.
He goes, and he puts it as a question, what do you think I would love to invest? And it would be very good for real estate values in California.
Sure, yeah. Well.
When we look at this right now, you and I have talked about the Biden administration. The Biden administration and liberalism today, number one goal is to make people's lives harder. Their whole goal is not to make people's lives easier.
Right.
It's to make it harder. We've seen it. We've seen it in the Biden administration. We've seen it what would happen during COVID. And you see Zuckerberg was on Rogan and said, no, they told us to hide the truth.
Yeah.
Of
yeah. And we knew, I mean, we certainly suspected that was the case because we knew what the narrative was.
But you think of the border. You think of what happened on what he did. That was calculated. Mm-hmm. You think of the lockdowns that happened. These were calculated and not based on the truth. If you want an example of liberalism, absolutely obsessed with making your life harder, you can look at those. You can look at inflation. They were warned. We know what causes inflation. And so they love the fact that they have the people that vote for them go, oh, inflation's caused by corporate greed. No, it's not. And so everything that comes up, they either have a lie for you, the border is secure, Inflation is good. Ah, you don't remember that, do you? Nobody said inflation was good. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Inflation was good because it showed people are willing to spend more money.
Right.
That's a good thing.
Right. And it hadn't deterred people from spending money. It's like, well, you guys don't see it. You guys don't understand how any of this works. But that's the insanity, though.
And so when you look at it, when you look at, and you can even go to critical race theory, DEI, trying to not unite people together. I mean, they talk about Trump not trying to unite people. My God, with DEI and critical race theory. And the racism of identity politics, all they're trying to do is separate people. They're trying to separate people based on lies, and they're trying to make your life harder. All the different regulations that they're trying to throw in on every little stinking thing, to the point, think about this, to the point now where liberalism is at in the United States of America, that they can still tax. But once they tax you and get the money, they can't do anything new with it because of all the regulations they've put in. They've actually blocked themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. They created the rules that keep them from carrying out their own agenda.
And you think of, as we started out the show saying, wow, the liberals' argument now is, well, it's climate change. Climate change just shows it's much worse, and therefore we need to tax you more. We need to do more about it, which means tax you more. We can't stop these fires. It's inevitable. We can't do it. Nothing we would have done would have made any difference whatsoever, is the argument that they're making.
Right.
That's a lie.
Right.
We all know it's a lie. You think about the climate change lies that exist out there, and that's why it's good that you have people like Bjorn Lomborg, Michael Schellenberger. They believe climate change is happening, but they believe that everything the left is doing is the completely wrong thing. Now, we can have this debate whether climate change is responsible for this or not, the heating of the atmosphere.
But Lundberg and Schellenberger are willing to sit down and talk about it.
Well, they're
as
willing,
people on the left.
Right, they're willing to talk about it, but saying everything we're doing is the wrong thing. You need to prepare for whatever it is in nature. You need to prepare for it. That's why governments exist, number one, to protect people. Now, I don't believe. I tend to much more agree with those that are saying that wildfires have happened for 20 million years. And also the fact that even the UN climate, whatever the UN climate group is, they even said a couple of years ago, the increase in wildfires nothing to do with climate change.
Right. Yeah.
So I tend to believe that. As for climate change itself, I've always said, I don't know. Nobody really knows. I have no idea. The biosphere is too big. There's too many variables involved in it.
Well, I know that there is climate change in terms of patterns of
no,
temperatures
I'm
up
talking
and
about.
down.
I'm talking specifically about man's involvement of it. Yes,
what the cause is.
Yes, climate's always changing.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. Well, and my point is, I know that there is climate change based on, well, I don't know, the formation of the Great Lakes, all of these things. Everybody knows that there is. Who was it that posted the other day? Was it Dr. Drew? Somebody posted all of your, whatever you're trying to do with clean air and everything else in California, the wildfires in terms of climate change. The wildfires have wiped it out.
Yeah, we brought it up that all of the efforts to reduce climate change gone with one fire.
Right.
The amount of pollutants put into the atmosphere and
right.
Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, everything else.
Well, and but the left, they tell you on one hand, if we tax you enough, then we can. Then Hochul now going after that. It looks like she gets her way. They're going to add about 12 cents a gallon in New York to gasoline under the guise of we're going to save the planet. And these are the things that, over the years we've talked about where we can save the planet. We have to act now. They've been saying this for decades, and the goalpost keeps moving, further and further and further. And all of these mandates and taxation, it's killing the economy. It's killing the American people. The people of California, I'd love to see somebody had to have done it by now. The cost of climate change regulation in California. I mean, it's massive. But how much of a percentage is it of the cost of living in California? It has to be a chunk.
Yeah, I would agree.
And those are the things. Look, clean air we can talk about, right? Particulate matter you can measure. But all of a sudden, we can keep the planet from dying if you just give us more money, and then something happens. Well, we can't control the planet. Well, if you give us more money, we'll try. Over and over again, it's a power grab, it's a money grab, and people vote for it. There's not going to be a conservative governor in California in my lifetime. Not going to happen. And it's quite unfortunate.
Let me mark this down.
Yeah.
January 13th, 2025.
Yep. Not going to happen.
Just in case it switches very quickly.
Right. Hey, I would love to be wrong.
If you would have asked me, would all these companies be dropping DEI so quickly?
Yeah.
And so publicly, this quickly, I didn't see that coming. I knew there was going to be hell to pay eventually for it. I didn't think it would be this public and this quick. And I do think a lot of it has to do with the last couple of years and the Biden administration.
Well,
in general, and
DEI was also doomed to fail for the reason,
Right.
the same reason that the Democrats can't spend the money that they approved to spend. You can't. Well, DEI ties your hands on everything. Well, we can't hire anybody. Well, you can't say that because I'm offended by you saying we can't hire anybody. See, they go in this vicious circle, and it becomes this downward spiral almost immediately. So it was doomed to fail. But, yeah, no, I would love to be wrong about that. If there is a conservative administration leading California to greatness, and they deserve to be I love California, but I'm telling you right now, if you're in South Lake Tahoe, if you're over in State Line, across the sidewalk in Nevada, you walk into California, the culture changes. It's, vastly different, but you see it everywhere. How long before people realize that something in a major way has to change? You look at San Francisco. Man, Silicon Valley. All of these things, I think one of the things from COVID is after people were lied to, they didn't go back. We talked about, living on top of each other basically in major cities, major metro areas. That might be done. This was in the very early stages of COVID because we talked about the shared air aspect of people living so close to each other while people wanted to move out a little bit, to separate themselves. Beyond social distancing, they wanted to, have a little bit of space. And then realized that they were lied to. And they realized also that, my gosh, I can live somewhere else. It's a lot cheaper. Texas, North Texas especially, is seeing a boom because people understand they can have a better life, much better cost of living. And I think this could be one more of those things that's tipping that scale against the liberal mindset. Again, only time will tell. But Gavin Newsom has demonstrated it's tragic how bad he is as a governor. It's absolutely tragic. You know, where you started the show, symbolism is one thing. The imagery is one thing. It gets you nowhere if they can't lead. And it really is the real contrast, the juxtaposition of him and DeSantis. Governors who actually work for the people of their state. Leaders locally who are prepared in something like this. They can't go out and fight the fires. They can't go out and stop the natural disasters. DeSantis couldn't stop a hurricane. But by golly, he and his entire administration, all of the state, local, county resources, and all the people involved were coordinated, and they were looking to him because they respected him. Newsom is trying to be the rock star, and a rock star is not going to get you out of it. He's weak.
I find that these are people that don't accomplish things.
They don't.
When you think about it, when you think of whether it's a Gavin Newsom, remember when Gavin Newsom. I mean, they treat people like they're in junior high school.
Yeah.
Remember when Gavin Newsom was in San Francisco, or was it when he was lieutenant governor?
I think he was lieutenant governor.
He was lieutenant governor
going to Texas,
and he said, "We're going to go to Texas because we need to find out what makes an economy run." Shut up.
Yeah.
Then get out of office.
Right.
If you've got to take a trip to Texas to figure out how an economy runs, then there are a bunch of idiots that supported you in your political career because you should be gone. Think about it. AOC came up with the Green New Deal. You think she has any idea how business and an economy and science and economics really works?
Nope.
You think Biden does? You think Harris does? These people are completely and totally clueless. We hire children. Liberals, you hire children.
Yep.
And I mean across the board.
They are absolutely clueless.
They live in a dream world, but they haven't acquired any talent to actually get the job done.
Well, the thing is that the fact is intelligence and leadership isn't measured by what you already know. It's your ability to find it out and put it in practice.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
When freight markets threw their small fleet a curveball in 2024, Alpha Drivers Transportation's Alec Kostouris and his team got creative to add value.
How do we operate the trucks, capturing and leveraging our strengths in light of those markets? So, for example, somebody who's living off the load board is probably dying on the vine. We decided that we would be better off. First, it was with Joel and Travis running together, and now it's Travis and his brother Connor running together as a team. So we are able to provide a higher level service, get some premium to what I call the base rate in that regard. Another strategy has been we brought one of the trucks out to Colorado where we work with a dedicated customer. So it's more of quality of service than quantity of service.
Find plenty more advice from Overdrive Magazine's Truckers of the Month and Trucker of the Year winners at overdriveonline.com/PIB.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. So, yeah, when you look at it, I mean, I think what you've seen, the response to the wildfires and the preparation beforehand is just obviously typical of what liberalism has become today. They know how to tax but they've gotten to the point where they can't even spend the money anymore because of, as we know, DEI has made it so they can't even spend money. That's what it's led to. And you think of all the regulations, Biden coming out again, killing some natural gas furnaces out there, which is going to increase the cost. Think of everything that they've done that increased the cost of everything to the average consumer. You had when Trump last week said, well, wind power is more expensive, and the media came out. We fact-checked it. You're wrong. No, you're wrong. The fact-checkers were wrong.
Right.
Again, we'll get to that and more coming up.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, if I hear one more time, well, Trump's playing politics. It's all politics. We need to stop playing politics with the fire. They're politicians.
Yeah, everything's political.
Let's stop being stupid. If it's politicians, it's political because they're politicians. But, like anything else, is the political opinion that you hold because you're a politician a correct one? For example, you guys are playing politics. You're saying that a man can't be a woman if the man says so. You're playing politics. Yeah, but we're right. The politics of that is right.
Yeah.
The substance of it is right.
Yeah.
And so we throw these little words in there. The leftists throw these little words in there as if that's supposed to mean something, and it doesn't. It's a situation of getting the job done.
Yep.
And that's it. When you see everything that liberals have brought forth, the inflation that we see, and any Republican that's into massive spending, I put you more as a liberal anyway.
No
Something
doubt.
you and I have been fighting for the longest time, and still hoping that the Republicans will be able to cut, even though we don't see that here at the moment. Not yet.
No.
Not yet. Not in the last continuing resolution, do we?
No.
And in fact, you had Republicans calling for the head of Chip Roy, who says, no, wait a minute. This is an administration coming in that says they want to cut $2 trillion. Oh, by the way, Elon Musk over the weekend said we probably can't cut $2 trillion. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said we probably can't cut $2 trillion. Nobody yelled at him.
No.
We got yelled at when we said, you're not going to cut $2 trillion off the budget in a year. That's not going to happen. It's a great thing to shoot for, because if you shoot for it, then hopefully you get, it's a great thing to do, but you're not going to get it. Elon Musk said it over the weekend. But when you had people calling that Chip Roy is a kind of rhino out there that needs to be kicked out of the Republican Party and needs to be primaried, we're like, so what? Now you don't want to cut? What's the whole point? The one interesting thing is, have you noticed that since Trump came out and said he is for legal immigration, have you noticed that the usual Trump surrogates have been much quieter on social media?
Yeah. Certainly on that front they have.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're gonna go out there and promote his agenda, make sure it's his agenda.
His agenda, I know. But everything that they do, the regulations, and again, we saw it during COVID, what they will do to a society and how they will lie to the American public for whatever sick reason they had because, with the school closings, we knew a long time before. We knew, the Great Barrington Declaration came out in October of 2020, but we were talking about it by the time we got to, because remember it started in March and then April.
Yep.
They started, shutting down the schools. Mm-hmm. So that was just a month or two. But by the time we got to August, there were people saying, absolutely not. There's not the scientific medical evidence that we need to do this with children.
Right.
And they just didn't pay attention. They didn't care. And some of the stupid things, I still remember the guy in the boat. Remember the guy in the was he in a boat, or I don't know if he was in a boat or if he was out surfing or whatever in California, and they arrested him because he was out in public.
Right. And it wasn't Joe Manchin.
No.
Who lives in a boat.
But
but that's, they have to build all of that out through what? COVID was the ultimate example of building that control out through fear-mongering. Because nobody knew what was going on, but in building all the policy out, build it on the fear. They didn't believe it. Gavin Newsom. He didn't buy the fake science they were promoting.
No, he didn't buy it. He didn't live it.
Nope. If he did,
he didn't care.
If he thought he would kill somebody or somebody would kill him by breathing on them, he wouldn't have done what he did. Openly not wearing a mask. And don't you dare not wear a mask. But they saw it as their ability to just take over. Hey, don't worry. We'll keep the liquor stores open and you can work from home. Okay, you can work and drink from home. It was appease the masses, but you better give us the control. And it's always built on fear. The earth is going to end. It's over and over again the ultimate lie. And COVID was a perfect example. Building that out and the damage done by the second part and most effective part of that pandemic. Think about that. The control by implementing policy. And then beyond that, using that also to spend, which created the pandemic of inflation. And that's where we are. People now are still underwater every month, getting behind on bills further and further and further. People are drowning financially. And it's because they were successfully able to do this through fear-mongering.
When you think about the lack of preparation for wildfires in an area that has wildfires, and the answer from the left is, sorry, it's climate change. We couldn't have changed anything. That's basically what they're saying. Nobody's going to buy that. They aren't. But that's, we knew this eventually was going to happen. Mm-hmm. We had talked about this many, and not just we, many on the right have said they're not prepared for it. But they went ahead as if it doesn't matter. And
right.
Think about the billions upon billions that have just been thrown down the toilet in California.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the money that has been spent. What was it for homelessness? Was it, billions upon billions? Remember, these were the people. Everything they touch, they destroy.
Yeah.
Everything they do is to make your life harder. The DA of L.A. is gone. Why? Because liberals came up with this great idea. Let's not punish criminals.
Right.
It was pure insanity, and liberals voted for it.
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. Remember during the summer of 2020, what we need are social workers out there.
Uh-huh.
Non-armed social workers. If there's a domestic complaint, social workers should go.
Right.
Well, that didn't happen, did it? That was a completely moronic idea. But all these things of, defund the police, the places that did it saw what? An increase in crime. Well, that's because you're a bunch of childish idiots.
Right.
You and I have talked about over and over again, Trump brought it up the other day, Wall Street Journal, defending Trump. Trump speaks the truth to wind power, where he said, we're basically crazy for doing the wind power thing, and the media challenged him. No, wind power's cheaper. No, it's not.
No, it isn't.
And think about this. I mean, because this is the kind of idiocy, the things that will destroy a society. We can run the grid on solar and wind. Biden ran on that. Now, once he got into office, he goes, and nuclear too.
Right.
But he ran and was elected because idiots went, yep, we can run the whole grid on solar and wind. What if it gets dark? Don't talk about that. What if the wind doesn't blow? Don't talk about that. Well, we'll have real large capacitors and batteries.
Right.
You're an idiot. Remember, people
no,
called our show and told us that.
Right.
I'm not making that up. We'll have a storage capability. We're not going to have the damn storage capability for something like that at all. Stop it.
Well, and then you see the examples. Well, there's this couple living we're talking about a grid. We're talking about a grid.
And so we can run the whole thing on solar and wind. No, you can't. And we've talked about this. How could this continue for decade after decade and keep moving forward like this when everybody that has any type of electricity or scientific knowledge knows it's pure horse manure? How do we continue to promote that year after year, decade after decade, where you get to the point of every grid operator and watchdog is saying, we're in deep trouble here. We need to move quickly.
Right.
And they're out there still going, alternative forms of energy are cheaper. No, they're not. Solar and wind is not cheaper. And then I did see somebody say, not offshore, but onshore it is. No, not if you consider the fact that you have to have a backup redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's way more expensive because you need two power sources, one that you hardly use, which needs to be subsidized. They both need to be subsidized, and that's where we are in the state of Texas right now.
Yeah.
And they talked about, the buildings. You get what is it here? Let me just find it.
Well, remember the warnings in Texas during the summer. Hey, it's going to be really hot today. Conserve what you're going to use. In Texas, it's going to be hot in the summer. And we have low wind and clouds. Not some kind of massive storm. Low wind and clouds were impeding the ability of the solar farms, the wind farms, no wind. So conserve. Gavin Newsom, days after he signed the EV mandate, don't charge your cars this afternoon because we're going to be in trouble.
Federal tax credits can cover 50% of the cost of building an offshore wind farm and more than 80% of the cost onshore. Wow. Because remember, they put out any of these estimates from the government notably don't account for the cost of backing up wind generation.
Right.
Power from so-called peaker plants and batteries cost 3 to 4 times more than the base load generators. It's far cheaper to run gas, coal, or nuclear around the clock than to use wind and solar some of the time and have to back them up with other forms of energy. What idiot out of 7th grade science class doesn't know that?
And
the Democrats that get elected to office, that's who.
Exactly. And they also lying by omission, keeping out all the facts in terms of the entire equation. The backup. That's an important part of the math. They did this with ethanol. They didn't measure farm to pump.
Yeah,
How do you not? How do you not? In terms of the math and the cost of it all, of a grid, wind and solar, we get it from the earth. See, the earth will wind is free. The sun is free. All right there, Cupcake. I mean, over and over again, they have to lie about it in order to get it done. And they're getting it done. The mandates are in place.
Yep. 866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. What are we, just 9 days? No, 8 days away.
From?
Trump.
A week from today, right? January 20th.
Is it Monday?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking it's Tuesday because Tuesday's election day. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're a week out.
Wow,
on the flip side of that, we still have one more week under Biden. I'm not going to make any predictions. We'll see where it goes.
You have me thinking about it now.
How many pardons? I guess we'll see.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. We are Red Eye Radio. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you.
So, just a week away, Biden will exit stage left. Where's the one story I had?
Someone will have to tell him where stage left is. But yeah, he will.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Exit stage left.
Exit stage left already. It's not even.
Interesting reading this from John Fundin, National Review. Here's the headline. Pete Hegseth is a Walking Dead nominee. Doesn't think he has the votes.
Yeah.
One of the reasons is because everybody's been quiet now, but when you get into the actual hearing, these questions are going to be asked, and he brings up the executive order that was signed. Eisenhower signed it, strengthened by Bill Clinton in 1997, that talks about anyone who shows vulnerability to exploitation and coercion is barred from sensitive national security positions. As he writes here, Hegseth is a walking demonstration of why that prohibition exists. When asked by Megyn Kelly, and you and I talked about this already, when asked by Megyn Kelly why he gave a woman who was accusing him of sexual assault a payout and then insisted that she sign a non-disclosure agreement, an agreement he later concealed from the Trump transition team, he responded, quote, I paid her because I had to, or at least I thought I did at the time. I had a great job at Fox and a wonderful marriage. It is not what I should have done, but I did it to protect that. I did it to protect my wife. I did it to protect my family. I did it to protect my job. It was a negotiation purely to try to prevent that. As Greg Kelly from Newsmax wrote this weekend, John Funn writes, this is the essence of blackmail, coercion through exploitation. Hegseth's admission aligns directly with these disqualifiers, and that's what Democrats are going to pound on.
Yeah, right.
He has already demonstrated a willingness to pay off his accuser, allegedly to protect his personal and professional life. As Secretary of Defense, his responsibilities would be infinitely more critical and his adversaries more dangerous. If he capitulated to blackmail once, what assurance do we have that he wouldn't do it again, this time with grave consequences for national security? He goes, all this makes clear that the debate over Hegseth's suitability to lead the Pentagon has been delayed but not concluded. GOP senators on the Armed Services Committee have seemed subdued regarding his nomination, in part because of fear that MAGA forces will promote a primary challenge against anyone who questions Trump's pick. Chairman Roger Wicker of Mississippi has declined to denounce political threats against his committee members, making even senators who are not on the committee leery of commenting. Then there's Hegseth's FBI background check. Armed Services Committee sources told NBC News that its delivery only late last Friday represented an unprecedented delay in the context of confirmation hearings for a major department. Chairman Wicker and Senator Jack Reed, Democrat of Rhode Island, the committee's ranking member, are the only senators who have read the report, but several senators from both parties are demanding to see it. According to one senator, Wicker did not poll his fellow Republicans on the committee until last Thursday. He found that support for Hegseth falls short of the committee majority. If his nomination goes to the Senate floor, where there are only 53 Republicans, Senator Murkowski of Alaska and Collins of Maine are likely to vote no. Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, liberated from his duties as the GOP Senate leader, is also a likely no. Moreover, GOP Senators Joni Ernst of Iowa, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, John Curtis of Utah, who just replaced his good friend Mitt Romney in the Senate, are said to be irritated by ad buys in their states from MAGA groups that demand that they vote to confirm Hegseth. Wow. I didn't know there were ads out there.
I didn't either.
Hegseth has met with many senators, almost all Republicans, to answer their questions. The results have been uneven. Some are enthusiastic about him and his opposition to a woke military, but others say that when he is pressed on specifics about his proposed Pentagon reforms, he retreats to platitudes and generalities. He's also been vague in detailing his management skills, perhaps in part because his biggest leadership role has been with the veterans group Vets for Freedom. But be interesting. But when I saw that, I go, okay, there's been nothing, when you think about it, the last couple of weeks on really any of the nominations and where they stand.
Right.
But I did not know that Hegseth right now in the count in the committee before it even gets to the General Senate to be passed forward doesn't have the votes as of right now.
Well, I mean, when you looked, I guess, back in November and early December, it really was about the conversations between Hegseth and Joni Ernst, and we didn't know what the reports, if you put them all together, made it seem like she was the only holdout, maybe one or two. But if we've gotten to this point, if it's right now, where it is the item on blackmail is going to be the one that really, I think, destroys it. If anything destroys it, it's you can't have that as somebody that's going to be the Secretary of Defense. And if you have a handful right now in the GOP, then you'll probably have more before.
Well, because they're gonna pound it if he doesn't have the votes in the committee right now, and believe me, Democrats are going to pound it. And it's not what he did.
No, it's how he handled it.
It's nothing about because people say his personal life should be kept out of it.
Right.
Well, it's no longer the personal life when you agree to pay off someone who you say you haven't done anything against, and you wish to have a very high national security job, and the concern about blackmail that always exists. This is an argument that we would make whether it was a Democrat or a liberal.
Oh, yeah.
And so it would be interesting to see, and if he doesn't have the votes in committee right now, and they pound this over and over, because believe me, Democrats want a victory, and that will be his victory. And you could say, yeah, but that happened once; it's not going to happen, and he works for Trump anyway. You have a point. It doesn't matter to these senators. He has shown that. He has said, I did nothing wrong at all. I broke no law at all, but I still paid blackmail money.
Right.
And you say maybe a non-disclosure agreement.
Legal blackmail.
Legal blackmail.
The idea is that somebody who would be Secretary of Defense could be manipulated. It's a weakness. It's a problem for the biggest of reasons.
The way he answered it, when I read that, I went, oh, wow.
Right, yeah.
I mean, the way
he laid it out.
And we said this weeks ago when this was the first time we went, whoa, that's not good, because that shows that you have already believed you did no wrong at all, yet just a story coming out you're willing to pay money for.
Well, and
Which is
when he did that with Megyn Kelly, we said, look, it was all planned. He went out to basically spill all of that out there. I guess in the spirit of transparency.
Yeah.
But in doing so, basically came out and said, I haven't always been transparent. Well, that's the problem.
Well, not only that, but there was twice where he didn't inform Trump.
Right.
As to the situation there. They got burned twice on him. So you combine all three.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think the Democrats will care that he didn't tell Trump. But it just would mean that if this thing got really heated, they didn't have the votes.
Yeah.
Trump, remember, Trump was loyal to Matt Gaetz until he wasn't.
Right.
Because the whole point is
how it all works.
Because it's about Trump. It's not about you.
Right.
It isn't about you. So I just look at it and go, if he doesn't have the votes now, and the thing is, it would be a shame because I think that he really does wish to clean up what has gone on in the military. I don't know who else out there has been as passionate as him to destroy the wokeness inside the military. I just don't.
Yeah.
And look, when people say, well, he isn't qualified because of his management. Excuse me? Lloyd Austin didn't tell anybody that he wasn't around.
Yeah.
And if you see the crap and the management of the military that we've had over the last 4 years, I'm not worried about Hegseth for that.
No, his ability to do the job, I didn't really have a great concern over. It's the process here is very different. Getting there is different. Very different.
But a lot of people don't know that. You and I have been covering politics for such a long time. We know that that's one thing, that if you are susceptible in any way, if the perception is there that you're susceptible to blackmail, and it would be because he admitted that he was.
Right.
Well, then you just told the entire world, well, I was blackmailed once and paid the people off.
Right. Well, and there can't really be anything that stands as the basis to question that kind of behavior by a Secretary of Defense. You just can't have that in play and have everybody. And yes, Trump as the commander-in-chief doesn't matter. Anybody at that level can't be seen as anybody who would be vulnerable in that way.
Unless you're a Democrat.
Right. Then all bets are off.
But yeah,
then they just want your pronouns.
I'm looking at this going, wow, because I didn't hear it was been awfully quiet, and it seems like things are really good, and all of a sudden there's been nothing for the last couple of weeks.
Right.
This is the first indication I've seen, first story I've seen that anybody reported that Hegseth does not have the committee majority vote right now to even get it out of committee.
Right.
And I just don't see if they pound on this day in and day out. Because I can hear the senators, you were blackmailed and you succumbed to it. If you did it there, how do we know you're not going to do it there?
Well, and
what's your answer? You're going to have to believe me. And then they'll say, yeah, but you didn't tell Trump twice.
That's
what was going on.
That's, I think you add all these items, they show a pattern of behavior. You're totally in CYA mode at every turn. And it's not about you. It's about the U.S. It's about national defense, the Secretary of Defense. You can't be shown to have that pattern of behavior. That's what the committee will look at. That's what the full Senate vote would be looking at. Well, at least for the GOP. You didn't disclose to the Trump team. Look, there's some issues there with the transition team. I don't know how that happens without the proper vetting by a third party. And I mean run it through the mill as many times as you can before you bring the nomination forward. But this happens. This is what the process is all about.
It'll be interesting to see how he performs under this kind of pressure, because that's pressure. Because that's the one thing you and I know about, national security positions that you hold, and how, especially in the past, conservatives have worried about that.
Oh, yeah.
And so the Democrats are going to pound on that. They're going to pound on that.
Yep.
And so if he doesn't have the votes now in the committee to even get it out, I don't know how he gets the votes.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how you turn that around.
Yeah, if that's true.
Right.
That he doesn't have the votes in committee now.
Right.
According to, that's, by the way, John Fund. And John Fund isn't known as somebody, if anybody knows who John Fund is, he isn't known to just throw out hyperbole.
Right.
So be interesting to see what happens there. 866-98-RED-I.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome, and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Well, the parent company of Facebook, Meta, and Instagram is cutting its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs for hiring, training, and picking suppliers. The company has also eliminated its DEI-focused team and will instead build programs that focus on how to apply fair and consistent practices that mitigate bias for all, no matter your background, according to a Friday memo by the Vice President of Human Resources. The move comes just days after CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced that the company will no longer rely on politically biased fact checkers to censor content, pledging to restore free expression on its platforms. Zuckerberg warned that the so-called, quote, unbiased fact checkers have, in fact, shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas. Also, Zuckerberg told Joe Rogan that the government told Facebook and Instagram, told him to censor the truth.
Yeah. No surprise to us. Somebody suggested over the weekend, I said it, I don't know, last year sometime. We should see the Facebook files. Did the Twitter files. Let's do the Facebook files.
Yeah.
Now, the difference is the Twitter files were done after Jack was gone. And Zuckerberg would still be there. I'm sure there's a lot of egg on his face that would be left behind if we did the Facebook files in a similar way. So I don't expect that to happen, but I'd love to know more about what the government did. We knew this was going on. We knew it was happening. In fact, about the time the Twitter files were happening, he went on Rogan. Zuckerberg went on Rogan to talk about the laptop thing that came to us in the summer of 2020. Well, we know how deeply embedded the FBI was. Now, thanks to the Twitter files over at Twitter. So at Facebook, they were just on the phone constantly at the very least. Or was there deeper involvement? Man, I'd love to know. I'd love to see all that.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I guess there was some football played over the weekend.
Oh, yeah?
It'll be next Monday then. Notre Dame against Ohio State for the national championship of college football.
All right.
The Fighting Irish.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck to all involved.
When are they going to change that?
I hope both teams win.
Well, wait a minute. Wokeness is gone. They don't have to change their name.
No, they don't.
From the Fighting Irish. No,
okay. All right. Well, good. Well,
by the way, how the Cowboys do in the playoffs yesterday?
They're not in the playoffs.
Oh, okay. I just wondered.
Yeah. Football season in Texas was over back in August. What are you talking about? We move on.
We were talking about Zuckerberg at Facebook, and I asked you the question briefly at the beginning of the show when we were just scanning some of the topics we're going to be talking about during the show. And with him coming out and over the weekend and making it clear that they're getting rid of all their DEI programs, all of them.
Yeah.
And they scrapped the liberal fact checkers out there.
Yeah.
And then he's on Rogan talking about the fact of we know how the government, wanted them to tell lies, and they knew it was lies, is the claim he is making. Now, when he came out last week and talked about the fact checkers, a lot of Republicans and conservatives said, okay, he's just trying to get on Trump's good side.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see the DEI thing, then you hear what he said. I've got the question, because they hear, well, he wants to get along with every administration. Was that what he was doing the first time?
Right.
Was he just trying to get along because he was afraid of the blue wave of intimidation? I'm only asking the question. I'm not trying to make a statement by asking that question. I just look at the intimidation that has existed from the left, everything from critical race theory to the radical transgender movement.
Well, we talk about the joint edicts during the final year of the Obama administration on transgender students in schools, in public schools. And the joint edict was between the Department of Education and Department of Justice. Well, the strong arm there is the DOJ. So the question I would have for Zuckerberg is, all right, what were the conditions? Did you just say, this sounds logical, we'll go along with whatever you're asking? Or did they have to be more convincing? When you look how they were at how they were embedded at Twitter, and then the conversations, the language, there's a lot of concern by big tech companies about breaking them up through regulation and everything else. That's been going on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But with Twitter and Facebook, it's about what? It's about the conversation. It's about the message. It's about the narrative. It's about what people are saying. It's about everyday people saying something and then getting, in later years, punished for that. You got delisted or whatever. And during the COVID thing, they knew that the average person had no idea what was going on with COVID. You build that fear. Then you control the conversation. If you can control the language in the conversation, you've won a massive chunk of the battle in controlling the people for a long time. Well, where is the conversation? It's all on social media. It is the conversation. In fact, it's the choice for most people. You're not going to, you're not going to hang out with friends anymore. You're going to get in the virtual hangout, and that's where everything will be said, your viewpoints and everything floats at that point to the top. And the government has to control all that if they, again, are trying to control the language. Community notes is one of the greatest things to happen in that setting.
Oh, Newsom got hit on it a few times over the weekend.
Man,
didn't he?
He just got I don't think he understands how community notes work. Clearly he doesn't, because he just kept getting hit again and again. But what is that? It's what we have always said. You have the ability to find the answers. The truth is out there if you want to find it, and you have the ability to get it. You just have to have the will. Well, you got to break the will if you're the government, if you're an administration that is hell-bent on changing the narrative, then you're going to have to break the will of people, and you're going to need the people who control the landscape, the real estate of social media, like Zuckerberg. I have a ton of questions, because I really don't think we're going to see the Facebook files. Because, again, Zuckerberg is still there. If the reason we saw them at Twitter is because Elon Musk said after he bought it, all right, let's go through this. And these were, Matt Taibbi, Barry Weiss, Michael Schellenberger. They're all liberals. They're not, but they ended up doing real journalism there. And we learned a hell of a lot about how the FBI was acting. I mean, it's scary to think about all that. The conspiracy theorists of the world, would often float, well, the government's in control of all this. Oh, man, you look at the Twitter files and tell me where those people are wrong. The messaging is the point. And it's not like, well, on the DOJ Facebook page, they came out and corrected something and said this isn't true, or just issued a statement. Well, that wasn't enough anymore. And John Kerry said it in recent months. The First Amendment, free speech, blocks our agenda.
And Hillary wanted to have civil and criminal penalties for misinformation.
That's right. And Bill woke up one morning going, hey, what? What'd you say? What'd you say about lying in prison? Those are the things you have to look at. It's still very much alive. They just don't have control of it. Now they've lost Zuckerberg. And as my grandma always said, when you lose Zuckerberg, you're done.
Well, the question is, especially the response that I saw from many Republicans saying, well, we don't trust Zuckerberg. He's just doing this because of Trump. His heart really, and all of a sudden the DEI falls by the wayside, and all of a sudden there he is out there, talking about the fact of how the Biden administration, wanted them to lie.
Yeah.
Wanted them to censor the truth,
right.
Which is in essence lying if you're censoring the truth.
Right.
That they wanted them to
The side that
lie
always screams misinformation, disinformation
is the biggest purveyor of that.
And by the way, another recent example over the weekend, Newsom.
Yeah.
Because he's accusing Trump of misinformation, disinformation, as he, the sitting governor of California, lies to the people of California. Wow. Again, we'll shape the narrative. We'll control the conversation, and you'll shut up. And we'll come at you if you don't.
Just reading here some of the transcript from Rogan. So in the beginning, it kind of seemed like, okay, we should give a little bit of deference to the government and the health authorities on how we should play this. But when it went on from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, like in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. And then it's like, oh, no, now you have to wear a mask. And, like everything was shifting around. It became very difficult to follow, and this really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. Yeah, I'm generally pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think in the balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative, but I think that while they're trying to push that program, they're also trying to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly true.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true. And then Joe Rogan said, who's telling you to take down things to talk about vaccine side effects? Zuckerberg. It was people inside the Biden administration, the interactions that I was just referring to. I mean, a lot of this is documented because Jim Jordan in the House had the whole investigation in the committee into the kind of government censorship around stuff like this. And we produced all these documents, and it's all in the public domain. I mean, basically, these people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse. And it's like these documents and curse. And it's like these documents are all out there. And Rogan said, did you record any of these phone calls? No, I don't think we recorded, but there are emails. The emails are published. It's all kind of out there. And basically, it's just got to this point where we're like, no, we're not going to take things down that are true. That's ridiculous. So might be my question. Is he really changing? Does he realize the error of his ways? Is it a money thing to him? And that's fine if it's a money thing.
Well, I mean,
if it's like
you have to decide what you are. I mean, as a business, you're going to have to decide what you are going forward. And we said that from the beginning on this whole thing. Look, you sign on to Facebook. It doesn't matter where you are. Facebook, CNN.com. Don't believe everything you read.
See the way the mainstream media covered that?
Yeah.
Well, no, in order to get that, I did see a couple of online especially. Well, if we want to get things done, you want to move things forward in a positive way, you do have to censor misinformation.
Right.
Well, you're the misinformation.
Exactly. And who decides that?
We need to censor the Biden administration for the last week.
Right.
Because there is no organization that has put out more misinformation than the Biden administration over the last couple of years.
Right.
Tell me another organization that has.
No, I mean, they're the biggest and the most powerful.
And speaking of natural gas, I mean, the gaslighting, they have to win a gaslighting award, and not just a participation award.
No, it has to be a presidential gaslighting medal, I think. I think Trump should award it.
The gaslighting medal of freedom.
Yeah, give it.
You need to gaslight to have freedom.
Give it to Biden 1 week from tomorrow.
Democracy relies on misinformation from the government.
Yep.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, just the media coverage of stuff here. Yeah. I saw this story the other day, and I went, what? Bill Maher dismisses speculation of quitting HBO show. They'll have to drag me off. Well, who started the speculation?
I didn't hear that. Yeah.
He did.
Oh.
He's the one that said it. And then the next sentence, what I was saying was I didn't want to do another Trump term. Well, despite
that's right. He threatened to quit.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. When Trump...
That's what I mean. The headline.
Yeah.
The headline makes it sound like there's been speculation. The story started with him. The story should read.
Yeah.
Bill Maher reverses himself. Will stay.
Right.
And he said, despite speculating late last year that he may quit ahead of another Trump administration, real-time host Bill Maher told CNN he's not quitting the program. Maher told CNN anchor Jake Tapper on Friday that although he's probably going to retire from doing stand-up tours, he's not stepping down from his popular Friday night show. If anything, he'll have to be forced out. I don't know where this started about I'm getting rid of real time. You said it.
He said he didn't want to do it during another Trump administration.
Right. He didn't say
by the way, that's not speculation. Others guessing that he may quit would be speculation.
Right. He said it.
Wow.
I'm just like, what? And everybody covered it that way. I'm like,
rumors. Bill Maher squashes the rumors that he may not stay. No, he was actually talking about it.
Yeah, I know.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, just some media stuff. We gotta tidy up here. We were talking about the whole, Bill Maher thing, and the headlines. If you read it the other day, that said Bill Maher dismisses speculation of quitting HBO show. Have to drag me off. And I read that and I went, "What are you talking about? You said it."
Right.
What do you mean speculation?
That's not speculation.
Right. Nobody else was speculating. You said you were going to quit.
Yeah, when you first said that, I thought, when you read the headline, I thought, wait a minute, what? Other people are saying he's going to, everybody's speculating he's,
right.
Because we talked about it when he said it.
He was talking to Jane Fonda. And I think we played the audio.
Yeah.
But he told CNN anchor Jake Tapper on Friday that although he's probably going to retire from doing stand-up tours, he's not stepping down from his show. I don't know where this started that I'm getting rid of real time. I blank, they're going to have to drag me off that show. Well, they got it from you. During an episode of his podcast in December, he told Jane Fonda he may quit because he doesn't want to do material about another term with President-elect Trump in the White House. I may quit because I don't want to do another, but he never said stand up. I did all the Trump stuff before anybody. I called him a con man before anybody.
You called him Hitler pretty early on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, you went out of your way to say the other guys that we called Hitler weren't Hitler, but this guy really is Hitler.
During Friday night's episode on CNN's Elite, Tapper asked Maher about the quote, assuming he meant quitting the show. He goes, no. Well, you said something to Jane Fonda about thinking about that. Where are you in your career? You still got a lot of good stand-up, a lot of good jokes, right? Like what? Tell us what's next. He admitted he's planning on quitting stand-up because he's tired of touring and has too many other things going on. Well, that's not what he said. I mean,
No.
I just love it. You create the story and you debate the story that you created.
You should go to work for Biden. Oh, it's too late.
Media, don't go along with this.
No.
The headline should read, Bill Maher backs
Backtracks.
off.
Yeah.
Backtracks on stating he's going to quit his show. I don't know where people got it. You said it. What are you, Biden?
Wow.
Now, this is the other one I love. Here's the headline. Sour Don Lemon launches profanity-laced rant against MSNBC's Morning Joe and Obama for cozying up to Trump. F you. Oh, what? Oh, what do you mean criticizing Morning Joe? You're imitating him.
Yeah. Joe said it first.
Oh, my gosh. Oh. Speaking on his YouTube program, he took aim at Morning Joe, who Lemon went after for the segment where they discussed acting civilly towards Trump.
Mm-hmm.
During, let me just see here, Lemon seized on other people's commentary to unload on Scarborough and Brzezinski for their widely criticized November powwow with Trump. You have to indicate to the American people that this is not normal. Grinning with someone that you have called a fascist over the last couple of years and the last months, that's not normal. Folks are tired of the behavior being normalized. Civility does not mean befriending people or foregoing your morals or principles and your character. Not quite finished with his rant, Lemon said, if someone disrespects my loved one, I don't have to smile in their blanking face, and they're going to know it. He even unleashed some of his anger and fury at Obama, who was seen smiling and engaging Trump in conversation at the funeral service for former President Jimmy Carter last week. Barack Obama is a classy guy, but these are the very same MAGA people who have called, and Donald Trump has helped promote, calling Michelle Obama a man. I'm not smiling in your face if you're calling my sister and my mother or my wife or my girlfriend a man. F you. This is Don Lemon.
Yeah.
Why does it give me such joy to read stuff like that?
I don't know, but I'm having a great time listening to it.
And by the way, the best thing that Don Lemon ever did on CNN, in case you don't remember it, this is probably a couple of weeks after the Malaysia airline crash.
Right.
where he had Mary Schiavo on, like one of the world's most renowned experts on, airlines and, airliners and airline crashes and
Right.
all these, ex-NTSB people. And they had it all prepared. They workshopped it. They had a meeting about it because, they had all the crawl underneath.
The graphics and everything.
graphics and the crawling underneath.
Right, yeah.
Was it a black hole? Oh, my gosh. And I believe I saw that live because I was dying when I saw it.
Yeah.
Because
that was his first question. What do you think, Mary? Was it a black hole? She's got to keep it together while she just... No, because we basically wouldn't survive that. Right. None of us would.
If there was a black hole the size of I think she said a pin, a needle.
Yeah, yeah.
It would pull in the earth.
Pinhead or something,
And pull in the earth.
Yeah. Right.
And our whole solar system would be gone. So, no, it wasn't likely a black hole. Well, our listeners, and they framed it as their listeners' questions. Well, you and I would get something like that and go, should we have? Well, yeah, we might make fun of it, but we wouldn't have a serious discussion because we understand, just in a very elementary way, black holes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
Yeah, you get someone like her on. You secure the interview, and that's where you begin. Wow.
Not mechanical stuff, not, tracking abilities.
Nope.
You start with black holes, but we know, again, they may have gotten somebody who asked it, but they had a meeting on it. They said, okay, this would be a good thing to bring up. Let's bring up the fact that, ask the question whether it was black holes. And anybody in that meeting that has just a elementary school knowledge of black holes would say, no, we're going to sound like idiots. Don't do it.
Right.
But they did it.
It's they went with it. Everybody in the room. Sounds good. Roll with that. Multiple people.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Be like, what in the hell?
Yeah, and
and the other one finally.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw the promo of it, but it's on Fox News, the lead headline again. FBI Director Wray reveals why he is resigning during such a dangerous time. FBI Director Christopher Wray revealed why he decided to resign during such a dangerous time. If it's such a dangerous time in the world, why resign? Asked host Scott Pelley. Well, I just saw the promo of it during football yesterday that said, yes, it's one of the most dangerous times we've ever faced here in the world, Scott. And then he is, well, then why are you resigning? Because he's getting fired.
Yeah.
You're making it sound like it was his decision to do so.
Right.
He's getting fired. That's why, if he doesn't quit. We all know it.
Right.
But they made it. Scott Pelley, I guarantee, they wanted to get into the fact that it was Trump who said he's gone. So they lay this whole thing out and then ask this question. It's like, well, it's such a dangerous time. Well, then,
set him up as the victim of Trump.
Right. But Scott Pelley didn't know. Well, if it's the most dangerous time, then why you know why.
Right.
Jeez.
Well, but Pelley is proven time and time again. I mean, and many in the liberal media. I mean, we said during the first Trump administration, during the first term, our advice would be don't engage. When you do an interview, a sit-down interview with him, I don't even know that he needs to do any interviews anymore.
No, I do an occasional press conference.
Because they've demonstrated over and over again they're clueless. And they're also not going to change in their agenda. I don't think. Look, J.D. Vance and the administration, the incoming administration's surrogates, actually are very good. They're very qualified to sit down with anybody. I just don't know why you need to.
Well, there's a difference. They wish to promote what they're doing. Mm-hmm. The Democrats wanted to hide what they were doing.
Right.
That's why they would lie to you and then gaslight you.
Well, and help and get the media to help reshape the narrative along the way. Yeah.
Right. You have an administration that wants you to know what they're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're promoting it.
You go out and you basically campaign your agenda. You're supposed to do that.
Democrats would do something like open the border and then claim that it's secure.
Yeah. Right.
And then
everything's fine.
Then when you said it's secure, well, yeah, we believe it was not secure because of this. I told you it is secure. Look, I've answered the question. No, you didn't answer the question.
Right.
Well, Karine Jean-Pierre was the best, and I mean the worst, at saying I answered your question. It's like, no, you answered some question. It wasn't in relation to what I asked you. Did anybody ever say that to her? They got close. Somebody got close about a month ago. They kept saying, well, we didn't ask, that wasn't, you're answering a question, but we didn't, that's not the question I asked.
Right.
I asked
that
this
happened a
question
couple
here.
of times where they kind of reapproached it. But
yeah, they did not the way
they
we
didn't
would
really
though.
Go at her. Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't last 10 seconds. We'd be done.
I don't think I'd last 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Probably as a press person in that room in any administration. I don't care, Republican or Democrat. I don't think I would.
You know, sitting up front like Sam Donaldson used to do. Mr. President, Mr. President. It's, it would be, but a couple have tried. You know, Pete Ducey. But you're not going to get anywhere.
This is going to be interesting. They said they're going to set it up differently. It's not going to be the legacy media that's going to be asking all the questions now. That the chairs may be arranged in a different way. Media musical chairs.
Yeah.
I wonder who's going to get the authorization to be there. Will Joe Rogan be in the front row?
Yeah.
I don't think so because he's not a reporter.
No, I don't think he'd want to be there. But I do wonder what it would look like. And who do you put there? I mean, it is a process where they have to be cleared, but beyond that, you have to choose essentially who's going to be there. Because you need effectively that group to be out there promoting your agenda when you're on the days that you're doing that in that room.
Well, if the first day I hear something like the first reporter, could you ask a question? Yes. All of you seem to be the most wonderful people in the world here. I think Trump is just the greatest person ever. I agree with everything that he is doing, not because I'm a partisan, but because it's just the most beneficial thing to ever happen in the country, and I have forgotten what my question is. Well, thank you so much. If I hear that, then I will know that he did learn something from the Biden administration.
All right, let's call on our first question here. Yes, Barron Trump with True Social. What would you like to ask? Can I have the keys?
Tucker, you have questions 1 through 10.
Yes. And take your time.
Yeah. Could you expand on that, please?
There's a bunch of podcast studios set up in that. It's just an entire room of podcast tables.
No, but there's a great point. Why should they get the monopoly?
Right.
They don't deserve it anymore.
Well,
they don't have the viewership. They don't have the readership that they used to have.
Right.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. Due to safety concerns, many motor carriers have policies that limit or prohibit the use of cruise control. If your motor carrier does allow you to use cruise control, you should only use it in good driving conditions during daylight hours and on roads that have light traffic, few curves or hills, and a consistent speed limit. Never use cruise control when operating in adverse driving conditions, including wet, icy, or slippery roads, during rush hour in heavy traffic or on congested highways, at night, or when you're tired or fatigued. During all of these driving scenarios, you want to be controlling and adjusting your speed as you drive instead of having to suddenly brake if you encounter an obstacle. In the case of a slippery road surface, you want to be able to slow your vehicle by not accelerating instead of using the brakes whenever possible. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, coming up, a couple of things here. First off, man, I'm telling you, Friday seems so long ago.
Yeah.
But a federal judge struck down the Biden administration's Title IX rewrite. We'll get to that, what the judge actually said, which is almost exactly what we have said on it. We figured it would be overturned at some point. We'll get to that. And also, Trump. Trump was given his sentence on Friday, and nobody's talking about it by Monday.
But it seemed actually within hours it was over.
I know.
It was like, oh, yeah, okay, no headline.
Yeah, but there was a build-up to it.
Oh, no, it was going to be, of course, the big crescendo of 34 counts of nothing. Well, inevitably, of course, this is how it's going to end.
There's two things that are driving the far left nuts, and that was one of them. What, 34 counts and nothing? No punishment? Not probation? Not a slap in the hand? Not a fine? Nothing? Then what was this all about? Well, you're getting closer.
He was going to sentence him to 4 more years of public service. And then he thought, oh, wait.
I saw that meme was all over the place.
Oh, was it?
Trump sentenced to 4 years.
I didn't see that. Wow.
Yeah.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen to all 5 hours if you can't listen to a radio station overnight, or you can listen after the show is over to our podcast.
And thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I want to play some audio. This is from Trump, and this is after Judge Merchan asked him if he had anything to say after the trial, after he was sentenced to nothing. He was sentenced to nothing, which infuriated the far left.
Unconditional discharge.
Unconditional discharge. But here's what Trump had to. Now, the good thing is now they can appeal it.
Yeah,
and there's no way this is going to stand up in court. No way.
No.
Don't know about the state court. In the federal court, it doesn't stand a chance. Mm-hmm. Remember, the Supreme Court did not look at all the merits of this particular case.
No.
They simply said, well, there's no punishment. From what we're told, there's no punishment, so there's nothing There's no punishment. There's going to be an unconditional discharge. So there is no punishment. It's not going to affect the presidency. Let it work through its normal course.
Right.
And that was a 5-4 vote, I believe. Yeah, that was 5-4. And so it's going to go through the process, and I can't see this. If this passes, God help New York. If you can do what they did here, if you can take the falsifying business records, which is a misdemeanor, which was not falsifying business records.
No.
To begin with, it wasn't falsifying business records. There was nothing. And then try, the statute of limitations is up. That would be a misdemeanor if you were convicted of it. And then try to say, well, he was attempting to violate federal election law by doing it, and tie a local misdemeanor to something that actually would be a slap on the hand and a fine. How do we know this? Because that's what Hillary got for lying about the money that went for the dossier, as you remember,
right?
That started the whole Russia collusion thing, and then turn it into 34 felonies. Sorry, that's not going to pass. That's not going to pass. This will be overturned completely, and he will get his vindication.
Yep.
Mershon, even in a way, wished him luck. I think Mershon's probably going, I can't believe we got involved in this crap. I think there are people that are regretting this. Look, I know there are people regretting it because the entire damn thing backfired on them. The whole reason they did this was so he would lose the race, and the public looked at it and said, sorry, this is lawfare. This is making up a crime to go after your political enemy. This is what banana republics do. You made up a crime, and that's what they did.
Yep.
They made up a crime. In fact, the jury, remember the jury in this case? They don't even know what they convicted of. Nobody can tell you what he was convicted of because they gave the jury 3 different things that they could go after him for, and none needed a majority of the actual jury in order to convict him.
Yeah, this thing is so horrible.
It's
legally speaking,
legally.
This thing is so bad.
But here's
but I think with Mershon saying Godspeed, and I thought, well, that's interesting because I thought the same thing you thought.
Yeah,
is he regretting this whole thing?
Yep. Well, the whole thing backfired on him. Everything backfired on them completely. Now Jack Smith is gone. Everything in fact, it just didn't backfire.
It imploded.
It imploded where everything that they wished for ended up 180 degrees in the opposite direction.
Yep. Wow.
What if they had done nothing? What if they had not brought any of these charges against Trump? Do you think they're looking at this going, I mean, Biden still would have been horrible.
Well, I think,
but I mean, you wonder.
What they wouldn't have done is created the martyr.
And they did.
But I'm glad that I can't change how it happened. I don't want this to occur. But if it's going on, if lawfare is going to be happening, then it needs to be in everybody's face. We need to all be keenly aware of it. In fact, you can't avoid it when it came to Trump because it was the story every single time with everything that they threw at him. And it's how you purge a system. And so eventually, and I'm hopeful that we will be able to purge the system. The fight isn't over, but at this level, they have to know now this didn't work.
Well, I think the only thing coming out of this to me is Bill Clinton's really, really ticked off because the history books won't look at him as the biggest political victim of any type of civil, criminal, or political lawfare.
Right. Exactly.
But here's Trump on Friday.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. This has been a very terrible experience. I think it's been a tremendous setback for New York and the New York court system. This is a case that Alvin Bragg did not want to bring. He thought it was, from what I read and from what I hear, inappropriately handled before he got there. A gentleman from a law firm came in and acted as a district attorney, and that gentleman, from what I heard, was a criminal or almost criminal in what he did. It was very inappropriate. It was somebody involved with my political opponent. Part of the records that we're talking about, they're saying, I just noticed where he said I was falsifying business records. Well, the falsification of business records, as they say it, was calling a legal expense in the books where everybody could see them, a legal expense. In other words, that legal fees or legal expense were put down as legal expense by accountants. They weren't put down by me. They were put down by accountants. I didn't call them construction, concrete work. I didn't call them electrical work. I didn't call them anything. They called a legal fee or a legal expense. And for this, I got indicted. It's incredible, actually. Now, if you look, my attorney alluded to it, the top legal scholars and legal pundits in this country, the ones that are quoted all the time on television, that are making their views felt, and highly respected people, have said, everyone, virtually everyone that I know of, haven't seen any to the contrary, not one. And none of these people are not exactly friends of mine, to put it mildly. But they all said this is a case that should have never been brought. It's an injustice of justice. Very respected Jonathan Turley, Andy McCarthy, Judge David Rifkin, a wonderful man who just passed away, by the way, Greg Jarrett, Ellie Honig from CNN, of all places. CNN said that. Paul Ingrassia, Alan Dershowitz, they all said this is not a case that should be brought. It's not, think about it, legal expenses are down as legal expenses, and I get indicted for business records. Everybody should be so accurate. It's been a political witch hunt. It was done to damage my reputation so that I'd lose the election, and obviously that didn't work. And the people of our country got to see this firsthand because they watched the case in your courtroom. They got to see this firsthand, and then they voted, and I won and got the largest number of votes by far of any Republican candidate in history, and won, as you know, all 7 swing states, won conclusively all 7 swing states, and won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. And they've been watching your trial. So they understood it. I wasn't allowed to use the lawyer-client privilege or the reliance on counsel. I had a lawyer that made this deal, and he admitted that. And he was also a totally discredited person. We weren't allowed to use the information from the Southern District that totally discredited him. It wasn't allowed to be put in. And that was terrible, unbelievable. And this is a man who's got no standing. He's been disbarred on other matters, unrelated, and he was allowed to talk as though he were George Washington, but he's not George Washington. He shouldn't have been allowed. The Southern District did a book of approximately 28 pages where I've never seen anything like it. They excoriated him. You wouldn't let it be put into evidence. So he was able to testify as a witness, and I think it's a disgrace to the system. I was under a gag order. I'm the first president in history that was under a gag order where I couldn't talk about aspects of the case that are very important. I guess I'm still under, so probably I won't do it now. I assume I'm still under a gag order. But the fact is that I'm totally innocent. I did nothing wrong. They talked about business records, and the business records were extremely accurately counted. I had nothing to do with them. That was done by an accountant or a bookkeeper who I think gave very credible testimony and was corroborated by everybody that was asked. And with all that's happening in our country today, with a city that's burning to the ground, one of our largest, most important cities burning to the ground, with wars that are uncontrollably going on, with all of the problems of inflation and attacks on countries and all of the horrible things that are going on, I got indicted over calling a legal expense a legal expense. It was called a legal expense. I just want to say I think it's an embarrassment to New York, and New York has a lot of problems, but this is a great embarrassment. I believe that this and other cases that were brought, as you know, the DOJ is very much involved in this case. It's because that's the political opponent they're talking about. The DOJ is very involved. You have a gentleman sitting right there from the DOJ who was from the DOJ's office. He was also involved with the New York State Attorney General's case. And he went from there to here. He went around and did what he had to do. He got them to move on me. But in the meantime, I won the election in a massive landslide. And the people of this country understand what's gone on. This has been a weaponization of government. They call it lawfare. Never happened to any extent like this, but never happened in our country before. And I'd just like to explain that I was treated very, very unfairly.
There you go.
Yeah, it's, again...
He laid it out.
It was very clear, and I thought that was a good statement by him. You look at Marshawn and Jonathan Turley just kind of shredded that. But it is so baseless, everything from start to finish. It's just like the Russian collusion hoax. And Mueller testifying at the end of his reign as special prosecutor. He botched it because the entire thing was botched. So the way it came down with Marshawn was the way it was always going to end. A nothing case on 34 counts of nothing ends in
nothing.
Nothing. It was nothing all along. And if you bought into it on the left, if you bought into it, that's on you. But it's demonstrated clearly.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. More on the politics of wildfires. And a federal judge strikes down the Biden administration. The argument basically, sorry, Title IX. Did I say Title IX or did I say Title VI? I think
you said 9.
Okay. I don't know why. I saw the X there, and I went, did I say 6 or did I say 9? But federal judge strikes down Biden administration's Title IX rewrite, the headline, and the argument basically was a biological man is a biological man and a biological woman is a biological woman. That was the intent of the law. You can't change it. That's what Congress wrote. Biological. Remember, the argument from the left is, well, but it is biological because we say it's so. Right. If a biological man says they're a biological woman, that magically makes them a biological woman. The court didn't fall for it.
No.
We'll have more.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.